Is that something this team is going to have to adjust to, dialing down the speed and getting the efficiency going, or was it just a matter of make or miss tonight?
Yeah, I thought, especially in the first half, we were still getting looks that, that we want to. They just weren't falling. I think we just have to make sure that on the nights where maybe things aren't flowing as easily as they were the other night, that, we're still locking in on the defensive end and we can, quiet those runs a little bit better.
Tyler had hot hand in the first half, didn't score in the second half. They went to zone a little more. Was it a matter of them taking him out of the game? Do you think you guys maybe should have tried to get him in the game a little bit more, or is that just the way it turned?
I think we just have to try to do a better job of making sure that we're still getting him touches, we're still finding him in the flow of the offense, and getting him in spots, where he can continue to impact the game. Obviously, he's an unbelievable scorer, and so we definitely have to do a better job of just continuing to get him the ball.
Now that everyone knows about the offense, knows what you want to do you expect more of this? Of teams trying to junk it up, slow it down, zone it a little bit more, and is there a plan B just in case?
I think every team has, tried to do it one way or another to try to slow us down, slow the game down a little bit. I think some nights, like I said, some nights the shots may not fall as easily. I thought, like in the first half, we were still getting good looks. We just got to make sure that, we're still playing the right way, still playing together, still moving the ball. And then, if teams are trying to slow it down and get it in the mud, we can still get stops, get out in transition, and then continue to work the offense in the half court.
Been a couple of games now. You guys got big deficits, fought back on the cusp, maybe one or two more shots. You're right there. Detroit again tonight. Does that say something that you also aren't going away?
Yeah, I think so. I think we have a resilient team, a team that's got some grit. And I think, down the stretch, the more games that we're playing, tightly like that, I think we'll find a way to get over that hump. Like I said, I think we have a gritty team, and we'll continue to. We just need to keep coming together in those moments.
And the coach after the game pointed out you're leading the league in steals per 36 minutes, and it seems like you almost played yourself to exhaustion. It seemed when Davion came in late, you were sort of glad because you sort of gave it all you got. Just your thought on making sure that you can do everything you can to hold it together so the starters can get their rest and maybe come back and try to finish it off.
Yeah, for sure. I think, when we went in there in the second half, that second unit, we were just trying to cut into that lead however we could. Every time out, we're talking about get it to 10, maybe get it to 6. Whatever we could do to try to, put them in the best spot that they could be whenever they do get back in there. I think that's always our goal as a second unit, and so I just try to continue to do that.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
For sure.
Man, obviously the LB Knights, when the opponents won't make it easy to do the 140, the 130 thing, and you have to find a way to do it the other way. Is this team positioned yet for those kind of games, or is that something you have to evolve into also?
No, we're right there, man. It's one of those games where, not a lot of us was making shots, and we got to learn how to really dig in on the defensive end and get stops along the way.
The zone, we've seen other teams muck it up a couple of times with the zone. It seemed like it happened again today. We sort of saw it last week against Dallas also. What do we need to do to upgrade there?
Just move the ball. Don't let the zone affect us. Move the ball, drive the open gaps, and then we just got to make plays. I feel like the biggest difference in this game is they had how many transition fast break points? I think it was about 20 transition points. I was like, you cut that in half, it's a real ball game. So I don't think it's too much about their zone or us making shots. It was that transition really hurt us tonight.
This team hasn't had to be so much about feeding the hot hand because in a lot of games, everyone's been the hot hand. But when you have a guy like Tyler who has 20 in the first half, only gets 4 or 5 shots in the second half, is that something you need to focus on a little more to get the ball to the hot hand in this equal opportunity offense, or do you just sort of ride it out the same way?
You just figure it out, man. We're all playing well, so it's hard to, say somebody has the hot hand. But also we understand, kid can go get a bucket at any point in time. So just understanding that, that's really coach's job. And for us, it's more sharing the game and figuring out how we can all get this ball game and a win.
You had your big three-point night the other night. Now Kalel steps up. How important is that your bigs can also space?
It just helps the offense. That means the bigs has to close out to us, and then it gives us open driving lanes, or gives somebody like Tyler who can get in the paint, or Norm, Wiggs gives them a driving lane when we swing the ball to them.
2 of your next 3 against the Magic, a team known for their defense, even if they're also trying to play at pace this year. Sort of what's going to be like to have almost a mini playoff series in Orlando on Friday and in Orlando for bigger stakes in the Cup on Tuesday?
Yeah, I mean, it's fun basketball. That's what you look forward to in this league. You look forward to the competition, the high stakes, and we want to go out there and compete and win.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, being without Norm, you had a chance to be a little bit more of a focus, and you seem to seize that more in the first half tonight. Is there still sort of an ongoing process with that for you guys as far as acclimating, especially against teams that try to get it, like Coach says, in the mud?
Yeah, we just got to get out in transition a little bit more, get the ball out, play faster.
And then when you look at the way you guys shot threes on Monday versus today, were they just not going down, or was it not the same quality of looks in your view?
Dallas does a good job of keeping us, off the three-point line, making things tough. They stay home, so it's just different than last game.
Even before you came back, zone was an issue. It's a different defense to play against. Obviously, if the other team makes, they can get set in the zone. Is that something you guys still feel you have to work on, or do you feel that even then you were getting the looks you wanted?
I think we were getting the looks we wanted, just got to be better defensively.
And the second half comeback and just what some guys did, especially Dru, and pushing his way back. What does that say that even when shots aren't going, when they're clogging the game, getting it in the mud, there you were still 4 or 5 point game late?
Yeah, we can still win games when shots aren't falling. It's not, all offense. We can figure out ways to win, when things aren't going our way.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Erik, did you take out of this the fortitude to hang with it when shots weren't coming, or a disappointment of being in that position?
I felt like it was an opportunity that slipped for us to be able to have that gratification of winning a game where we weren't making shots. We made a good comeback there at the end, but through 3 quarters, there was more discouragement from our missed shots that was affecting our concentration level and resolve defensively. Particularly, in that second quarter, and then probably through 7 or 8 minutes of that third quarter, that's where we really pride ourselves in being able to hold the fort, find a different way, a different solution, just buckling down, concentrating and defending the way we're capable of. Not to say that we would have gotten stops, but we had several breakdowns, and then you could feel our lack of resolve from the discouragement of missing shots. And we had a rough night shooting the basketball, but that's going to happen in this league, and you still have opportunities to find a way to win. And I think that that was an opportunity that was missed. It would have been a really gratifying win to find a way to get the job done.
Was it just missing shots, or was it Dallas again keeping you in the
Well,
holding you down?
it's both. It's not just us, missing shots. First half, our spacing was a little bit jammed up, and against a good defense like that, and particularly at the rim, they do a great job with their bigs of protecting, at the rim. If your spacing's not right, you're going to be bumping into each other. And it took us a while to get our spacing appropriate because we had good drives in the first half, but we were running right into each other. And then that started to get cleaned up a little bit, and then we missed some open looks. But, Dallas is a very good defensive team, so you do have to credit them.
Tyler, 20 first half points, no second half points. Something he did, something they did to him.
Well, they were in the zone a lot, so, you have to have the right execution a lot of times. There was a segment where they finally went back to man, and I probably could have done a better job getting the group organized, to get him some space and places where he could operate. But it was that kind of game. Both teams were jumping in and out of zone, out of man. So you just kind of had to play out of principles, and we didn't do a phenomenal job of playing out of those principles.
Kalel certainly had his moments, but he had some other moments. How do you sort of get him to shake those, or is that just a young second-year player?
That's part of the process. He's learning and he's putting in the time. He's been dedicated with it. And that's the deal in this league. You're being fed through a fire hose when you're a young player, and you're learning how all these little detail things impact winning. And there's these swing moments, that can be so important throughout the course of the game. But he did some good things. So we'll focus on that, and then we'll continue to develop him on all those finer details.
And then lastly, Dru Smith and just what he does almost played himself to exhaustion.
Yeah.
How important and helpful was it to make it a game for you guys?
Yeah, he's really unique. He's a league leader in steals, per 36. He has an uncanny ability. First of all, just think about how crazy that statement is.
Mm-hmm.
Leading this association in steals. But he does it in a much different way than most do it. He just has really good hands. He has great anticipation. He can kind of feel, when guys are going to put the ball out there or pass. And when you put him in the zone, that's when he can be particularly disruptive. Thank you.